Rev up your engines! Well, if you've attempted to buy a new used car, you'll be shocked at the prices. Of course, because of the pandemic, they haven't built as many cars, so their new car, they have very few of them lying around to sell. The same thing with the used car. The used cars, there's less and less of them available, and since we live in a capitalist economy, when supply is scarce, the price goes up. And that's what's happening. Not a good time to buy a new or used car. You might think about keeping your old one, taking care of it like I show you how to do in all of my videos. I mean, nobody elects used car lots anyways. The old saying, would you buy a used car from this man? And they have a picture of Richard Nixon in the past. Not the most honest person on the planet, obviously. They've got the driver's seat now. They have a few cars. They're going to charge as much as they possibly can. It's like anything else. I'm here in Rhode Island. There's a house over there. Guy wants $1.3 million for it. It was built 5 years ago for $700,000. Now he thinks he can get $1.4 million because people are nuts and they're buying real estate all over the place. It's the same thing with cars. When there's a limited supply, and here there's a limited supply of houses on a bay, right? You know, they're 2 inches away from each other. They build them everywhere they can. Cars are the same thing. When there's a limited supply of cars, they're going to charge as much as they possibly can. And of course, if you want the popular cars, like an all-wheel drive SUV, they're going to gouge you because everybody wants them. There aren't many. They're going to charge as much as they possibly can. So if you can hold off buying a car, my advice is hold off as long as you can because they're going to rip you big time trying to sell you a new one or even a used one. Oh, here we go with Kia again. I warned people not to buy them. Look at this one. Kia had to recall 147,000 Seltos and Soul vehicles for fire risks, and some of them are going to need new engines. They couldn't even build the piston rings. They didn't treat them right, and they're too hard. You might think, oh great, you want hard piston rings. You want hard piston rings, but only so much harshness. You make them too harsh, the cylinders inside the engine, they wear out, they burn oil, they can start on fire. They can actually break in these. They're so hard, they're too brittle. They could break in the engine, could lock up where you're going down a highway and get killed that way. It's so absolutely ridiculous. Some of them, they said they're going to have to replace the engines, but I've seen this before, where they said they're going to repair or replace the engines, and they don't, and then the customer's engine blows up, or they didn't replace it, but they repaired it, and then later the engine blew up again because they don't do such a hot job fixing them. Now, these are the 2-liter engines. In the 2020 and 2021, Kia Seltos and Kia Soul. Now, they say a technician will inspect the engine and replace the engine if needed. Well, you know, they're going to tell those technicians, geez, don't replace too many of them. It's going to cost us a fortune. You know what nonsense that is. Inspect an engine? The only way you can inspect that would be like taking the whole engine apart and checking it. And they're not going to be doing that. But here's the real kicker. They say they're going to install a new piece of software to better monitor the issue going on. So they'll probably just put software in most of them just to see if they finally are going to blow up. Piston rings that are made wrong, you can put all the software in the world in. That doesn't solve the problem that the piston rings weren't heat treated right in the first place and don't work correctly. They're just trying to find a way out of it. This is why I tell you, don't buy Kias. Their quality's always been bad. They've always had engine problems, and they always say, oh, don't worry about it. We fixed them. That was the old ones. These are 2020, 2021, the new ones. They're still making them like crap. Brandon King 101 says, are there any reliable cars you'd never buy? I'm sure there's lots of cars out there reliable, but are there any you wouldn't buy? Well, sure, there's lots of them. Let's take the Toyota Yaris, which often is just a rebadged Mazda. They can run a long time. I got customers with a couple 100,000 miles on them, but they ride like crap. You feel every bump. You go down the road, and in that respect, not that I'd ever buy them because they cost too much and there's no real electric infrastructure. Back over there is a brand new 2021 Model Y Tesla. I made some videos you can watch about it. It runs like stink. It is a scalded ape. You step on that gas and it just goes. Rides like crap. I took my wife for a ride. She said, don't ever take me for a ride in this thing. I hate this car. It feels every bump on the road because it's small wheelbase. The Model Y Tesla is just based on the Model 3 Tesla, the cheapest one they make, short frame, but they got those 1,200-pound batteries slung low. You feel every bump in the road. My old 07 Toyota Matrix rides better than this thing does when you hit bumps. It's fine on a smooth road and it handles like a dream, but you feel every bump. If you took a long trip in that car, bangity, 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 bang. It is one of the most uncomfortable cars I've ever been in. So I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy it anyways. And electric, the engines and stuff seem to be reliable. They run okay, but man, does it ride like crap. DLT63 says, Scotty, I'm going to install a locker in a two-wheel drive truck to help with traction in the snow. I'll be on flat paved streets. I can't afford the four-wheel drive. Well, yes, that will work, but realize one thing. Do not attempt to corner really fast then, because you'll skid. That's why they have differentials, so that one tire on the inside can go a less distance than the one on the outside when you corner as it turns. You'll skid a little if you go fast on corners. But if you're going to use it in the snow, especially if you're like towing stuff, maybe not that bad an idea. Just don't drive that fast and corner that fast, or you're going to be in for a shocker the way it handles. You're not extraordinary, says Scotty. I'm thinking of buying a Lancer if it's not rusted out. Check. A lot of those will be rusted out. They're worthless pieces of junk when they're rusted out. But if they're not rusted out and it runs good and shifts good, you could have some fun with it. Now, of course, it's got a rubber timing belt on that most of those do. Change it right away. They're interference engines. You'll destroy the engine if the timing belt breaks. Unless you're buying it from somebody who says, look, I just changed the timing belt. You take the cover off, you can see it's new and shiny. You gotta change the timing belt before you do anything, because if it goes, goodbye car. They could be fun cars, and they were never true collectibles, so you could probably get a good price on one. Just look out for rusted frames, though. FS says, Scotty, will oil additive restore fix 0 PSI in a 4-cylinder 2005 Mitsubishi Galant? No, of course not. If you have 0 compression, your engine's shocked. Probably a blown head gasket, amongst other things. Now, that restore stuff is kind of a gimmick. They had some kind of metals and liquid, and they say they'd restore your compressions on worn out engines. Now, it could do a little bit on a somewhat worn engine, but you can't use them on any modern engine because I believe they contain zinc and stuff. That'll ruin the catalytic converter of your engine. You know, anything that says it's a miracle in a can that will rebuild your engine while you drive is a load of baloney. Don't listen to any of that crap. It doesn't do anything. If you have 0, forget it. The engine's shot. You're going to have to rebuild it or put another engine in. Dino says, Scotty, what do shops do with evacuated Freon? They recycle it. You put it in a tank, and then the recycling guys, they used to give us money for them because they could use it over, right? But now they actually charge us to take them away because it's a government regulated thing, so they now charge you money to take it away because usually it's mixed with other stuff. It's not pure. Try to use it in a car without it being purified, so they charge us to take it away, just like they charge us to take the oil away. But nowadays, most places like AutoZone, Pep Boys, things like that, they'll take your old engine oil. When you buy oil and filters, they'll take your old stuff. So at least that you can get rid of. You don't have to pay like a mechanic does. Fish Friday says, Scotty, what do you think of the second generation Pontiac Trans Am? Well, they were fun to drive. Trans Am, the Firebirds, Camaros, they all shared an awful lot of parts. Now, like any older American cars, you got to check for rust. They were notorious rust buckets. So if they're rusting out, you don't want to buy one. But they're becoming collectible items. You buy those things for what they look like for toys. You don't drive them to drive 20,000 miles a year going down a highway either. Harvey says, Scotty, what do you think about 06 to 13 Lexus IS250s and its carbon buildup issue? Well, I don't see any major carbon buildup issue myself. If it's somebody like grandma owns it and she never takes it over 30 miles an hour, you can get some buildup. Most people buy those cars, drive them relatively fast and hard, and most of it will burn off. You want to use good gasoline. You want to change your engine oil every 5,000 miles or so. There's a lot of maintenance and stuff you want to do on the car. I haven't particularly seen any problems myself that were serious. Like, let's take the Volkswagen GTI early ones, where you could get it so thick you'd have to take the heads off and you'd have to blast them with walnut shells. You can't use sandblast sand because that would eat up the metal, but they use walnut shells in it, which is buffier. I even got a machine like that from a company, and it works quite well, but it's a royal pain in the butt taking an engine apart and cleaning that stuff out. But I haven't really seen that in Lexus myself. Brandon Harrison says, should I buy a Honda Civic or a Toyota Corolla? Well, you picked probably 2 of the best cars in the world to buy, so the rest is kind of up to you. What price do you want to spend? What kind of speed do you want? The Civics are a little faster. The Corollas will last a little bit longer. Are you buying new or used? They're both excellent vehicles. My advice would be road test them, see which ones you like, because they're both well made, and pick it on your personal preference of what color do you like? How do you like how they ride and run? Maybe you think the Civic accelerates more and you like that. Maybe you don't care about that and you want the longest life and you get a Corolla. That's up to you. Stephanie Harris says, question, I got a 2003 Jeep Cherokee. It idles low when it's at a stoplight too long. Sometimes it shuts down. Why would it do this? All right, they can idle low for many reasons. First, it's an old vehicle. Look for vacuum leaks. You hear a sucking sound when it's idling, you got a vacuum leak. Could be a vacuum hose just fell off, right? Now it could just be out of tune. Change the spark plugs, air filter, fuel filter, that could do it too. Now if it isn't that, try my video. Make your car run better with a little spray cleaner. You can get 2 cans of spray cleaner. You can clean the mass airflow sensor, you can clean the throttle. That'll often do it too. Usually one of those will fix it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.